Okay, so what we should have now, we should have printing hello world. We ask the user for the name, we ask them for the year of birth, and we've printed hi, comma, name. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to print how old they're going to be in the year 2020. Now, we're going to need to do a little bit of math with that. So I'm going to get you guys to try and think about how or what formula or what we would do to calculate how old they would be this year. Well, obviously, that's going to be something which will be output. So in order to output, I would type the word print. I will open my bracket, and in this bracket is where I will put my mathematical formula. It's not a string. It's not something that I wanted to be recognized as a piece of text. It will be something which will be calculated using my variable. So I will very quickly and very easily simply type in 2020 minus yob. Okay. Now, when I run that, okay, let's see how that runs. Let's see if any problems come up. Let's see if it calculates it correctly. Now, it's asked me for my name, Mr. C. Please enter the year you were born. Okay, now it's actually thrown up an error. Okay, now if I scroll down, it will tell me unsupported operand type for sub int and str on line 5 in main.py. Now, the problem we have here is that when we've input that information, when we've input yob, it's recognized it as a string. So it's recognized it as a piece of text. Now, we cannot do any math without any piece of we can't do any math with text. We would need a number there to do that. So what we would need to do is when the user enters that yob, we want the program to recognize that it's actually an integer. So simply type in int, open bracket, and I want to close my bracket at the end. So we've got two brackets opened. I need to make sure I have two brackets closed. Now, we actually have 4 different types of data. Now, the first one that we've been talking about quite a bit is string. Now, string is recognized as text. It could be text which includes numbers, special characters, but it's read as text. The second type of data that we have is an integer. Now, an integer is recognized as a whole number. Okay, so if I was to use the number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, that would be recognized as a string. The next one we have is called a float. A float is recognized as something which can be a decimal number. So if I had the number 5.5, would that be a float or an integer? That would actually be a float. We need to think about exactly what data I would be storing. If it's, let's say, for example, the length of a table, if it's in millimeters, I may want to use an integer. However, it's in centimeters, I may want to use a float. Okay. Now, we're not going to go into so much detail yet. Now, the fourth type of data I have is called a Boolean. Now, that may be a new word to some of you, but Boolean is actually there's 2 options with a Boolean. It could be yes or no, true or false, 1 or 0. These are the 4 different types of data we have. So when we're thinking about the year that someone's born in, that would always be an integer. That wouldn't be a float. Thinking about there would be no decimal place there. So I'll very quickly get rid of this. And I'll run that again. So what's your name? Mr. C. The year you were born, 1995. Hi, Mr. C, 25. Okay. Now, what I'm going to get you guys to do is I want you guys to add those few bits in. So we're adding that second or that third print line of print to be printed. I want you to recognize that yob is actually an integer. And what I want you guys to do as a little extra is I want you to say on that line, this year or in 2020, you will be X year old, okay? Or your age will be yob. So I want you guys, well, not Yob, but the calculated answer. Okay, so I want you guys to do that. Let's see how you guys get on. That will be all we will be covering for today. Next week we will be going back to do some more Python. At some point we will go back and work on the turtle again. And we'd incorporate some of these stuff into the turtle program as well. Now, I'd also like you guys to comment whether you found the fact that you had my video useful or not. And that's all for today. Make sure that what you do is watch my next video. My next video, I will explain exactly how to save and upload your work onto Glossary for those of you guys who have figured that out.